Okay, hi. This is my submission for our first reading reflection for SPED 450. Over the next few minutes, I will be expressing my understanding and reflections over the idea that disability is a social construction. But to fully grasp the concept, we must dissect the phrase. First, we must ask, what is disability? And then, what does it mean for something to be a social construction? So, first, what is disability? As we discussed in class, the definition of disability is dynamic and often dependent on one's lived experiences and identities. Finkelstein, a disability rights activist and pioneer of the social model of disability, defines disability as the social relationship which take no or little account of people who have physical impairments. To further the sentiment of this definition, Hegel and Hodge define disability as the disadvantage or restriction of activity caused by a social organization that does not take into account people who have impairments and excludes them from community life. These two definitions both emphasize social phenomena, whether that be the social relationship or the social organization. Those references to social elements represent disability's intertwined relationship to society. And this leads us right into the idea of socially constructed phenomena. A social construct is something that exists not in objective reality, but as a result of human interaction. In other words, a social construct is something that develops as a result of society. This image demonstrates a few examples. For instance, gender is a social construct, meaning conventional ideas of boys and girls are placed upon people by society. There is no law or intrinsic value by saying boys like sports and girls like fashion. Those are just labels or characteristics placed upon male and female people. Society is unanimously in agreement on these things, like the image highlights gender roles, the nuclear family, and religion. While those are just three examples highlighted by this image, we can also add race, adulthood, government, fashion, marriage, and of course, disability to this list of socially constructed ideas. These socially constructed ideas are embedded into our society and influence our beliefs and worldviews. And this happens unconsciously. We fuel these beliefs unknowingly just because they are so embedded into our society. So now as we know now the definition of disability and social construct, let's put the two together and look at disability through a socially constructed lens. I first want to highlight the photo on the bottom right. It features an adult in a wheelchair holding a sign that reads, I am disabled, and he is positioned at the bottom of a staircase. When faced with an impossible task, like getting a wheelchair up a flight of stairs, it is easy to label the individual as disabled. The built environment, in this case the stairs, is disabling this individual from getting to the second floor. But would this individual in the photo still be holding up this sign if there was a ramp or an ADA accessible elevator? Or to Finkelstein's article, how would this photo change if this individual lived in a society of only wheelchair users? Perhaps this individual would not be in this situation in the first place. Disability is not just an individual experience or medical condition, but it is a socially constructed phenomenon that incorporates the experience of those living with disabilities in interaction with their environments. I think this quote from the Joneses article truly encapsulates the idea of disability as a social construction. It forces us to acknowledge and understand that it is our environment and society that disenfranchise people who live with disabilities and impairments. If society accepted those with physical and neurological differences and actively created spaces that meet the needs of everyone, then people with disabilities would be celebrated for their abilities, not just what they cannot do. Over the past weeks of class lectures, readings, and class discussions, my eyes and my heart have truly been opened, as well as I'm reminded of my younger brother Stephen, who has autism spectrum disorder. You can see I have a photo of us on the screen. Stephen is currently in a transitional program where he is learning life skills. And he will soon, in 2 years, age out as he'll be 22 um, of the public school learning. Um, Stephen's teachers often report to my parents that Stephen cannot meet any of his benchmarks that the teachers make for him, or that he can complete a task or meet a benchmark, but not in the way that they wanted him to. It is always about the dis instead of his abilities. As his older sister, I can list many things that Stephen is good at, but those abilities are always overshadowed by the limiting beliefs of his teachers, stares from strangers, and the consistent fear that Stephen will never reach his full potential. I truly believe that Stephen is a really good example of the intersection of individual and societal factors. Stephen is an individual with unique needs and abilities. However, he is existing in a society that does not value his abilities and choose to punish him when he isn't able to act normally or act as expected by not only his teachers in the school setting, but by those around him. Here are my references, and that is all. Thank you so much.